It's a fantasy narrative with elements of betrayal, war, and a second chance. In a tavern, two people sat at a table, conversing. One said, "Have you heard the rumor? There's a madman roaming the battlefield these days. A mercenary with eyes that don't care for life. They say he suddenly vanishes after a battle ends, only to search for another battlefield. But there are words this madman always repeats. I survived again, especially where the Empire is involved. He always appears and sweeps the battlefield. It seems like he's avenging a personal grudge, not fighting for money." Another remarked, "Just hearing these rumors sends shivers down my spine. Who is this madman?" He replied, "I don't know. The rumor says he was a prince of a fallen kingdom. They say he's looking for a place to die. 10 years ago in another tavern, someone was winning at gambling. He was introduced as the third prince of Briel, Yuri Briel, 10 years old. One of his companions, the royal mage Arnando, said to him, 'It's truly strange how you always win like this, and by such a small margin.' Another companion chimed in, 'It's just luck. He doesn't have anything special that's different from others.' But the prince decided he would bet double what he had wagered before. Suddenly, some people who were upset by his gambling wins appeared. One of them, visibly annoyed, said to him, 'Do you think we don't know you cheated and won money? These are dirty tricks. What bad luck for them.' The prince became agitated and said, 'Dirty tricks? Who do you take me for?' The man replied, 'Well, by what you're doing. It seems you're certainly no nobleman. Are you the king of this land?' The prince said, 'What I mean is that you are defying the empire's wishes and inciting war.' The prince struck the table, enraged. 'Listen closely, you three fools. I am the third prince of Briel, Yuri Briel, and today, you will be reborn because of me.' The people were frightened by the prince. The story shifts to the palace. The princess says, 'You're late now. My father held an emergency meeting. I told you everything beforehand via carrier pigeon.' This was Princess Yekaterina Ivarna Granzin of the Empire. The prince said, 'What I mean is, can you overlook it just this once?' The princess replied, 'Or do you think you're the only one who finds it difficult to make time? How did you come all this way, hidden from people's sight?' The prince said, 'I know well, but please understand my position as well. Since my father had to leave his place, I must be somewhat careful. In fact, I shouldn't tell this to anyone else, but—' The princess interrupted, 'Am I someone else to you?' She threw down a necklace and said, 'If you don't trust me like this, why do you give me this? Why don't you give it to another woman you trust? Don't contact me again or ask for my presence to speak with you.' The princess left the meeting place. The prince looked at the necklace and said, 'What do I do? It won't be easy to fix this time.' As he spoke, a man was observing the prince. After that day, the fragile relationship between Briel and the Empire reached its limits. The Empire's actions, which were once mere provocations, gradually crossed the line. As the conflict between the two nations escalated uncontrollably, the Empire invaded Briel. Scenes of the invasion appear. The prince shouts, 'Let the people escape. Tell the people around the castle to leave quickly.' Eventually, the war with the Empire officially began. After ages, countless people sacrificed themselves in a war that showed no signs of stopping. The third prince looked at his elder brother, Josha, lying dead on the ground. The kingdom's mage said, 'Your Majesty, we must evacuate at once. Reinforcements haven't arrived.' The great power of Briel, what people call the strongest on the entire continent. All because of that man, Fury Briel's absence. The balance tilted in the Empire's favor. At first, I thought it was a coincidence and ignored it. Perhaps I denied the truth, that I didn't want to believe it. However, my thoughts as I fought, with my life on the line and my rational thinking, led me to one conclusion: the betrayal of Princess Yekaterina, the only one I told everything to. It destroyed me. The period my father left Briel, and at the same time, the beginning of the Empire's brutal invasion. I wanted the strange, concurrent circumstances to be just my suspicions, but the reply to the message I barely sent to Princess Yekaterina was, "Sorry." The Empire's soldiers found the third prince. They said, "Kill the prince, and the kingdom will end." But he blocked the soldiers' attack with successive blows. However, They surrounded him. He thought to himself, damn it, will I end here? The soldiers attacked the prince. Suddenly, one of the third Prince Yuri's loyal soldiers appeared and blocked the attack with his body. The prince exclaimed, Roland. The soldier Roland said, Your Majesty, save yourself. More soldiers arrived and told the prince, Save yourself, prince. Escape. If any harm befalls you, Brielle will have no future left. Escape quickly, Your Excellency. The prince fled the battle. The next day, the Empire's soldiers searched for the prince everywhere. He appeared in a hut and thought to himself, I can't keep hiding here. I must somehow break through the surrounding formation and make plans for the future. What happened to my father? Since he hasn't returned, that means he was killed by the Empire. Someone entered the hut. The prince said, If I die here, Brielle's future ends. The prince said to the soldier, Forgive me. If I die here, Brielle won't be able to resist at all. The soldier said, I won't explain much. The price for the sins the Empire committed will be paid soon. The Empire's soldiers will be here quickly, so escape. The prince left the hut, hurrying toward the forest. He thought to himself, I must stay alive, even if it's like this. I must stay alive, reclaim Brielle, and take revenge on the Empire. Yet, my ideals were nothing more than childish bravado. Reality ended up being harsh in the end. Everyone died. What exactly is the purpose of all this bloodshed? I can't even think of a reason at this point. Right, I only used the sword to punish myself. One day, someone might appear, someone who will end this miserable life. The story shifts to the prince, wounded in a forest, the ground around him frozen. A soldier stood before the prince. He said, They say you're looking for a place to die. You assume that the reason you rush into the most dangerous battlefields and make reckless accusations was all to find peace in self-harm. The best answer you could come up with. You are selfish to the end, even in death. There's no mercy for your kind. The knight removed the mask from his face and said, All of this happened because of you alone. His face was disfigured everywhere. The prince looked at him and said, Roland, that voice, it must be him. But surely he died then. So how? Roland said, The fall of the kingdom of Brielle in a trivial empire conspiracy. The oath and honor of the Flanders family, who served the royal family all this time, and how it crushed my dignity and faith in an instant. Yuri Brielle must die. He lunged and stabbed him to death. The prince said, Damn it, I thought my heart would feel a little relief when I died. This cursed feeling of guilt burdens me even in my last moments. He remembered his father's words. The heir of Brielle never abandons honor, even in death. Suddenly, the third prince, Yuri, woke up, younger, and the kingdom had not yet suffered any upheaval. The prince wakes up with his father, the king, next to him. The father says, I can't believe you stayed awake for 3 whole days. Are you all right? Prince Yuri thinks to himself, My father died, so how is he here? The prince says, Father, I ended up in hell. Well, I deserve what happened to me, but I can't believe you're with me too. The prince still hasn't grasped that he's alive. The king says, What? The prince says, Honestly, I think it's logical for someone who always championed honor. Your life must have been truly noble. The king slaps him and says, What nonsense are you spouting? The prince says, You can't get rid of your habit of hitting even in hell. You must atone for your mistakes. Suddenly, the prince looks out the window, looking at the maids outside. The prince thinks to himself, They're not really here. If this were truly hell, there must be sinners and raging fires and demons who would mock and torment me. Wait, if this place. He looks at the king and the princes, his father and brothers, beside him, and the third prince, Lebriel Yuri Brielle, 13 springs old, falls asleep again. The prince says, At first, I thought it was just a fleeting dream or a recurring moment. But no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't wake up from it, and the world didn't end. Rather, long-forgotten memories and events began to repeat themselves as they happened. I had to accept reality. I returned to the past, precisely to the spring of my 13th year. I got a second chance. While the prince is sound asleep, one of the maids comes and wakes him up. The maid says, Wake up, my prince. You asked me to wake you. It's time for your swordsmanship training. The prince wakes up quickly, saying, Hannah, hurry, get my clothes ready. No, I need to wash first. The maid, Hannah, says, Your Highness, calm yourself. Let's start by washing your face first. I'll help you. The prince asks the maid, Hannah, to slap him on the cheek. The maid says, Excuse me, are you asking me to commit treason? He tells her, It's not treason, it's an order. The maid says, I agree with your words. The prince says, Yuri Briel, will not go back on my word. The scene shifts, and the prince is training, his face swollen. He thinks to himself, I forgot how strong Hannah is. No one offered me ointment, not even Bernard said anything about my cheek. The fencing instructor, Bernard, says, The prince hasn't even adjusted his stance, he just spars with me. Since when did swordsmanship training depend solely on sparring? The prince remembers the king and the fencing instructor. The instructor says, Even though the prince was born with the blessing of talent, he only wastes it. If he were more competent, he would be the greatest blessing I could have, Briel. The prince thinks to himself, That's right. Everything started then.